Hello, and welcome to this introduction to Wikipedia. First of all, I'd like to begin this presentation by highlighting the fact that this is just an introduction. You will not come away from this presentation knowing all the rules of Wikipedia by heart. The goal of this presentation really is to introduce you to the basic rules and guidelines in order to feel comfortable getting started with editing. Getting to know and becoming confident in editing Wikipedia takes time and experience, and the more you participate, the more you'll know and understand all the nuances of how Wikipedia works. So first of all, for this presentation, we're going to start with an overview of the Wikimedia Foundation. I'm going to tell you about the 5 pillars of Wikipedia, and then we'll go through the different steps of how to edit an article, including some basic things such as adding a reference, adding an image, and then we'll take a look at creating a Wikipedia page and Wikipedia behind the scenes. At the end of the presentation, I'll give a short demonstration and also point you to some useful resources to increase your knowledge of how to further edit Wikipedia. So it's important to know that Wikipedia is part of the Wikimedia Foundation, which is an umbrella organization, which is a nonprofit organization whose goal is to provide the necessary infrastructure to promote free and open knowledge. So the Wikimedia Foundation has several sections, including Wikipedia, and you can also see it also includes Wikimedia Commons, which is the place where all of the images on Wikipedia are taken from. It also includes Wikidata, which is structured data about certain elements that are often feed into the pages of Wikipedia. It includes Wikinews, Wikibooks, Wikisource. So all of this is meant to create free and open knowledge that can be contributed to, used, and shared on the internet. Wikipedia is based on 5 founding principles. First of all, it's really important to know that Wikipedia is an encyclopedia, so it is meant to present notable facts. Wikipedia is written from a neutral point of view, so it is not meant to publish opinions, to advertise, or promote content. Wikipedia is free content that anyone can use, edit, and distribute. It's also important to know that Wikipedia's editors should treat each other with respect and civility. And lastly, Wikipedia has no firm rules. There are policies and guidelines, but these aren't set in stone. They can be modified. So it's important to really have confidence when you start editing, and don't be afraid to make mistakes, because more experienced editors will tell you if you've made a mistake, and they'll tell you how to correct it. And everything can be modified and undone. So I would encourage you to go ahead and be audacious and confident and start editing. And you can learn more of the 5 pillars of Wikipedia through the link in this document. So here's an example of a Wikipedia page of an artist. This is a Montreal-based artist, Mohija Kitinge-Banza. So you can see this artist has a small description of the bio of the artist. It talks about their artistic approach. We do have an image, and we can see at the top that it's available in 2 languages. At the end of the article, you'll see that it has a list of references, which is a really important part of every article. So before you start contributing to Wikipedia, it's really important to understand the notability guidelines. In order to write about Wikipedia, you have to choose a topic that has significant and sustained coverage. So this means you cannot create a Wikipedia page about anything. It has to be something that is considered notable or historically important, that has significant writing about that subject. So a topic is presumed to be suitable for a standalone article or a list when it has received significant coverage. So this means coverage that addresses the topic directly and in detail in reliable sources that are independent of that subject. So notability guidelines include sources that are notable. First of all, I want to just take a moment to talk about primary and secondary sources. So a primary source is a first-hand account produced at the time of event or shortly after. So a primary source would be a recording of a speech or a presentation or an interview. That would all be a primary source. A secondary source, also sometimes called scholarly sources, are sources that interpret and analyze primary sources. So these include peer-reviewed articles, books, monographs, articles from newspapers, or dissertations. So an example of a secondary source would be an article that analyzes the recording of the speech or presentation. This doesn't mean that you can't use any primary sources in your article, but your article can't be based solely on primary sources. It's important to look at secondary sources because they are not directly involved in the actual subject. So, as we mentioned, articles should be based on reliable, independent, published sources with a reputation for fact-checking and accuracy. This means that we publish the opinions only of reliable authors and not the opinions of Wikipedians who have read or interpreted the primary material for themselves. So examples of reliable sources would be books, periodicals, so magazines or newspapers, scholarly articles, or government websites. Some unreliable sources would include blogs, tabloids, or social media. You can read more information on reliable sources on Wikipedia. It's also important to note conflict of interest. So you cannot create a page of yourself if you're an artist. You also can't create a page of an organization that you work for, or anything that you're directly involved in. So according to Wikipedia, conflict of interest editing involves contributing to Wikipedia about yourself, your family, your friends, clients, employers, or your financial and other relationships. So editors with a conflict of interest, including paid editors, are expected to disclose it whenever they seek to change and affect an article's content. And again, this is all with the goal of making Wikipedia have a neutral point of view. So the very first thing you'll have to do when you start editing in Wikipedia is to create an account. And this is fairly simple. You would open up Wikipedia and click at the top of the screen, create an account. You will then create a username and a password. Note that it's not advised to use your real name as a username. This is just a caution. So because it's in your best interest to remain anonymous if you can. So if you don't create an account, your IP address also will be visible in the revision history of the article. So we really recommend that you create a name create a username using some kind of moniker. So we're going to look at some examples of pages on artists or curators. We'll look at the examples of the artist Camille Turner, the curator and historian Gaëtan Vernat, and Diana Bowen. So no two artist pages are exactly alike. They all are of slightly different sections or content, but this is some suggestions of sections that you could include in an artist page. You could include a biography, including their early life, career, and education. You could have a list of exhibitions and performances and highlight important exhibitions within that section. You could talk about their works, highlight some of the major artworks by the artist. Also include a list of awards. If you're writing about an artist or a curator who has won awards, this will be very important to include in the article, and this will really help the article establish the required notability guidelines. You can also create a separate section for further readings or publications about the artists and external links, including an artist's website or links to their social media. At the end of every article, you will find a list of references of all the works and publications that are cited in the article. So here we have the example of the artist Camille Turner. We have her early life here, and we have on one of the side of the screen an info box, which has some basic information about the particular artists, including where they were born, their nationality, where they went to school, and some of their notable works. Here we have an example of the page of the artist Diana Bowen. You also notice in the article, we have some links that are in blue. We have text that is in blue. These are links to other Wikipedia pages. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but it's important to note. It's also important to note that it's recommended in these links to only include links to other Wikipedia pages, and external links should be included at the end of the article. And this is the page of curator and historian Gaëtan Vernat. Also, you can notice that this article only exists in French. So this would be a great opportunity to translate this page from English to French if you're fluent in both languages. This is a great way to contribute to Wikipedia, especially to get started, because it means that the page has already established notability if it's been published in one of the languages, and you can simply translate it to another languages, often using the same sources. So let's look at some possible contributions that you can make. So you can edit an existing article. A lot of articles are not completely up to date. They can add more detail. Some of them are just what we would call a stub, which is a really basic article that needs to be expanded upon. So you can add some references, you can add or update information, you can add an image to illustrate the article, or also add links to other articles. And this is the perfect way to discover editing in Wikipedia. We really encourage you to get started and become familiar with Wikipedia by editing existing articles. But if you want to, and you're feeling ambitious, you can also create a new article. So as we mentioned earlier, you can translate an article from French to English and vice versa, or another language. And you can also create an entirely new article. And to do this, you'll start with an article draft in your sandbox, which we'll look at a little bit later. So first off, how to edit an article. So in order to edit an article, it's quite simple. You would click on the tab labeled Edit at the top of the right-hand corner of the article that you wish to edit. Once you have added any kind of new text or new content, it would be important to add a reference. Any new information that you add to a page has to be based on an external reference. So this is in accordance with Wikipedia's verification policy. So to do this, you would click on the end of the sentence of the information that you added. You would then click Cite on the toolbar at the top of the page and select the type of source you're citing. You can then enter the information in the required fields and a citation will be created automatically. So it is possible to paste a link of a website or an online news article or another online article. You can put the ISBN of a book, and generally it'll create an automatic citation. But it is also possible to modify the formatting if it's not entirely correct. So you can also modify a reference if necessary. So once a reference is added, it can be edited to add information or to adjust the formatting. So here we can look, if we click on one of the numbers in superscript next to the sentence, we see we can view the reference. We can see how many times it's used on the page. And then we can go into that reference if we click Edit, and then we can modify the information as needed. They would then click Apply Changes. So going back to what I mentioned earlier about internal or external links, adding internal links is probably one of the easiest ways to edit a page. If you see content on the page that could be linked to another Wikipedia page, all you would have to do is just select the text that you wish to link, click on the chain link icon, and then select either Wikipedia or an external site. So if you simply start typing in the word, if it appears in blue, it means that there is already a Wikipedia page on that particular subject or on that particular person. If it appears in red, it means there is no page that has currently been created. And as I mentioned earlier, links to external sites in the body of the article should be avoided. It's really best to add the external links in a separate section at the end of the article. Once you've made your changes, it'll be important to include an edit summary, which is a simple description of the edits made to the article. Your edit summary will appear in the revision history of the article. So an example could be added a reference, added a new section, excerpt added from, etc. And this helps us to really trace all of the history of the article. So we can look at the history and see what the changes were made and by which users. If you want to, you can select Watch this page in order to stay informed of future edits to the page. So you can also add images to the article, but the images must first be uploaded to Wikimedia Commons. This is where all the images in Wikipedia are stored. It's very important to note the images used in Wikipedia must respect copyrights. So they must be an image that either you created, an image that is freely licensed with the proof of authorization from the creator, or an image in the public domain. So this is a very important aspect because the images on Wikipedia are free to use and share. This is really important to respect these guidelines. So let's take a look at Wikipedia behind the scenes. So what happens after a page is published? Well, experienced editors will evaluate the page. Some editors might help improve the page, but sometimes you will get requests for deletion and other alerts. You may sometimes have a banner on the page that says that it doesn't respect proper formatting for Wikipedia, that it needs additional references that need to be verified. All these are kind of alerts that will alert other users that it's recommended to come and improve the page. So you can follow the activity on the article's talk page. Every page has a talk page, which is a place for discussion about the article. So this is an example of a talk page from an article that was created. And this was an article that was created that was then submitted for deletion. There's then a discussion and then ultimately a vote by different users whether to keep it or whether to delete the page. And this often happens if the subject is not considered notable enough. So to create a new page, in order to submit a new page, you must have made at least 10 edits in the corresponding language where you want to publish. So if you want to publish in English Wikipedia, you have to have made 10 edits in English Wikipedia, and the same goes for in French Wikipedia. First of all, it's really important to verify the page doesn't already exist, because you can't create a duplicate of a page that is already published. And of course, make sure that your subject responds to Wikipedia's notability guidelines, or else it will be nominated for deletion. So you have to make sure that you have sufficient secondary sources. Then you can use your sandbox space to draft your article. So your sandbox space is part of your user space, and it's where you can really experiment and start drafting articles. And it is actually a public space, but it is not indexed or visible in the main Wikipedia page, the Wikipedia site. So if you want to start a draft of an article, it is possible to share this draft with other users and ask for their feedback on it before you submit it for publication. So there are some helpful resources for continuing to learn about Wikipedia. You can visit the project page for this Art and Feminism event, where we have a number of resources and also suggestions for pages to either create or to modify. You can look at the Wikipedia editing guide for beginners prepared by Artexte, available on our website. And also by simply consulting the help section on Wikipedia will lead to a number of resources and tutorials to learn how to edit in Wikipedia. So before we end this presentation, I'm going to give a short live demonstration. And if you have questions, feel free to contact me at collections@. So I'm going to look at the page that we looked at earlier, which was the page of Lucy Chan, where we looked at the discussion page. So we're going to click on English Wikipedia. Okay. So here's the page of Lucy Chan in English. So we can see that it's available in several languages. There's a page in French as well. So if I want to edit this page, I would just go to Edit here. And then I'm in the editing window. I want to show you something that will be helpful in troubleshooting later. If you go to edit a page and you see something that looks like this means that you're in source editing mode, and you have to know the wiki markup in order to edit the page. Thankfully now Wikipedia has a visual editor, so if you find yourself with this page, you click on the little icon with the pencil and then click visual editing, and it'll take you back to the visual editor. So I could add something to this page. It's a fairly minimal article. I'm just going to show you how to make a simple link to another article. I'm going to click on the text here for Foreman Art Gallery, and then click here. Oh, I see the page does not exist. So in this case, I can't actually add to it. But I'm going to click on the text of another source. So let's look at a different link that we could add here. So I'm just going to create a simple link here. I can link to the page here to Halifax, Nova Scotia. And then I would go publish changes here. And then I would just put a really simple description of what I did. This is a really small edit. So in this case, I would just click, this is a minor edit. And I would just say added internal link. And then say publish changes. And then I can see the changes that I made here. So that's just a brief description, a brief presentation of how to edit in Wikipedia. So I hope that you have learned something and that you feel confident and excited to get started. Thank you.